They say good girls follow the rules. They smile, they show up, they keep it together. But you, we know behind that polished exterior, there's a whole lot of anxiety. Hi, I'm Sam, chronic overthinker and host of Good Girls Have Anxiety. This podcast is for anyone who's ever looked calm on the outside, but was secretly spiraling over that one text they sent 3 days ago. Each week, we dive into the messy, hilarious, and sometimes uncomfortable truth about mental health, people-pleasing, boundaries, burnout, and why saying no still makes some of us sweat like we're on trial. We're talking real talk, zero fluff, just honest conversations with a few laughs, and maybe a bit of swearing, or a lot of swearing. Because being a good girl doesn't always mean you're okay all the time. And having anxiety doesn't make you any less powerful, lovable, or worthy. This is Good Girls Have Anxiety. Take a breath, unclench your jaw. You're in the right place.
Welcome to Good Girls Have Anxiety, the podcast. I'm Kate.
I'm Lane. I'm Sam.
And this is Liz. Liz is the Little Sleep Coach on Instagram, at Little Sleep Coach. Liz and I know each other because our kids go to Montessori together, which is super cool because I basically have... it's like in the episode of Friends where Phoebe finds out that Ben goes to school with Sting's son. That's how I feel right now. You're kind of a big deal. You're basically Sting to me. So I'm so excited that you want to come on the podcast. And should we just get into it? So today we have Liz who's going to join us today. We're going to talk about sleep and all things surrounding sleep, whether it's our kiddos sleeping, us sleeping, how we're handling the new motherhood of it. Should we start with what we had just kind of talked about?
Yeah.
So we did kind of talk about it a little bit, and I'm kind of trying to summarize, but I needed to get medicated. I could feel it, but it was because with my first child, I knew that I was getting the sleep to be able to handle all the big feelings and emotions that I was having so that I could handle the moments where she was having a hard time and how I could help her through those times. But when I wasn't getting sleep with my second child, I could feel the boiling point getting closer and closer. How has your experience been with other parents who've experienced that lack of sleep and how it's affected your mental and emotional health?
Complicated and personal story for every family. I will say I can tell when I talk to a mom what comes first. Is it the sleep deprivation, or is there built-in anxiety and kind of the expectation around it, be it from a personal standpoint or society? Because I know there's a lot of social media influence out there right now.
Yeah.
So really, when we do our evaluation and our consultation, we really just kind of dig down into where exactly is this coming from. And I tell the mom I'm very upfront. It's I can say, depending on what she chooses is more comfortable for her. I don't have a one set plan. What she chooses is more comfortable for her. I tell her right away how long it takes. And I set out that expectation, and I can kind of see from there if that is what had kind of been set in her mind, or if there's something else going on there. So I can only do so much with helping little ones go to sleep and getting them on a good routine and helping break habits and behaviors. But when it comes to having a really kind of perfect mindset around sleep, I really do talk to parents hey, have you kind of considered other aspects of this that needs looking into maybe a little bit, or needs a little bit of.
I love that you don't go in and you're I can fix all of your problems. This, it's not just about your child learning these new sleep skills. It's about how is your health? How's your sleep health as a parent so that you can help your child? It all comes with us first, right? With everything, we can't be the best parent that our child needs if we're not healthy ourselves.
Well, yeah. And I feel too, going in with this aspect of the need for control. I think especially as a first-time parent, for me at least, I felt a lot of pressure to get it right. And it's so important when they're young, because the sleep habits we build now and the way they sleep now impacts how they're going to be for the rest of their life, which isn't necessarily true. Yes, it impacts the things that you do now do impact their sleep as toddlers. I do full-heartedly believe that. But it doesn't mean you need to get it perfect right away. Just because they're not sleeping well this week doesn't mean they're not going to sleep okay in a couple of weeks. I felt this like immense pressure that like, if today is fucked, then I'm fucked forever. And I just spiraled because I was like, well, this nap's shot, then tonight's shot, then tomorrow's shot, and I'm fucked. And I just couldn't like get around. I just was so, what is it, like, had blindfolders on, tunnel vision on like every sleep must be good sleep. And I could not perfect. Just open my mind to like, and chill. I needed to chill and take a breath, and like things take time. Yeah. Whereas with my second, I don't know, you have a bad night, like it's all Gucci, man. It's like you're putting in good habits that are over time gonna pay off. Yeah. And they're gonna go through regressions, and they don't last forever.
That's
the thing. It's simply a phase. You can ride the wave.
Yeah.
Ride the wave. Do the things you need to do. Try your best. But like, if today's a mess, today's a mess. It's all okay.
I think one of the trickier things is try and get across, like, your baby is going to wake up no matter how good a sleep trainer like or process you have gone through. Like, your baby is going to wake up because they need something. Maybe they just got cold one night. They're still going to wake up. They're still going to wake you up. They're going to need that help, right? Or maybe they had a bad day. They didn't feed very well during the day, and they're going to wake up hungry.
Yeah.
You know? You're going to get woken up.
Every day's variable.
Yeah. You're not, you can't sleep train that hunger and cold out of a baby.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't.
Yeah.
You know? All I do really is, I hate to say it, it's like I work with the parent to try and change the habit around the baby sleep.
Yeah.
I can't change anything with the baby. The baby is the baby. They are a whole person on themselves. Their temperament and your family schedule, like, those are the things that I work with. And then mom as well. It's like, you know, if we've got a very high-strung mom, and I was a high-strung mom.
Me
so
too.
I know where I'm talking here.
I'm like, with my first, I am like top of the leaderboard for high-strung mom.
Yeah,
I had no chill.
Yeah, I had zero.
So no
as well.
hate. Yeah.
I'm talking to me here. But like, if somebody had said to me, it's like, you know, you don't have to get it perfect.
Yeah.
You will recover.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is another day, you know?
Yeah.
It's
hard though when I felt like my mental health relied on the sleep. Mm-hmm. And that's where that vicious cycle starts. Mm-hmm. Because I am and I learned this when having kids, I'm a high sleep needs person. Yeah. I genuinely need 9 to 10 hours, which isn't going to happen. But in order to feel good, I need 9 to 10 hours a night, which is absurd. Yeah. Like 7 to 8, I'm always exhausted. And when you have a baby, you're like 5 to 6. Yeah. That's all you're getting is 5 to 6 broken hours.
A good night is six hours. Yeah. Like, if you're getting 4 hours of broken sleep, like, I'm unwell.
Oh, but, me too. Yeah.
You know, and that's given, but like 6 hours, like, and so that's wicked.
Yeah. But I'm not okay on 6. Wow. I'm not okay on 6. And that's why I felt the pressure, because I needed Janie to sleep. Mm-hmm. I needed her to sleep so I could be okay to be her mom. Mm-hmm. And so I had no patience for anything that would happen throughout the day. And she was quite colicky. And so I just had no patience throughout the day if I didn't sleep. You hear the footsteps upstairs. Those are our children.
That's their shoes. They're going outside. Oh, definitely. Ooh.
Spicy.
Got the high heels on.
Well, I was going to kind of like talk about Andrew for a second, because like I think like a big thing too is having a supportive partner, which I think like all of us have been very like fortunate to have, where like to have them. Okay, so one of the things, I'll just talk about kind of myself for a second, is with Wyatt not sleeping. With Blake, I had no problem. I would get consistently 6 hours of sleep minimum, and I was fine. And Steve was always in and out of the house. He'd be gone 4 days a week. And I was honestly, I say, it was simple because I didn't have to go do the back and forth. Now that he's working long days, coming home late every night, and then trying to manage the 2 children, their excitement to see dad, but also keeping their routine in check, that was especially difficult for me, especially with my second child not really sleeping as well, just wasn't picking up on those. You know, naturally it seemed like Blake seemed to get the self-soothing pretty quickly. Yeah. With Wyatt, not so much. And having Steve just be like, okay, well, I'll wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, an hour earlier than I usually would, so that you can at least sleep from 4 until 7 when Blake wakes up. So if I were up all night, my best sleep was between 4 and 7. And I would sleep like a rock. I would sleep so good. I would be able to conquer the day along with some sertraline. But, but that's besides the point. But it was so good having his support. And with one kid, it's one thing. With 2 kids, trying to balance those 2 kids on no sleep, it will take the life out of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is it like your kids are awake? Because I don't have kids. So like, is it like your kids are awake and they're crying all night, or is it just like they're just awake and you just have to be like?
I think it's also like they're awake, they're crying, they're trying to soothe themselves back to sleep. Maybe they're hungry, more hungry than usual. Maybe they're teething. That's a big one, right? Like Wyatt got 3 teeth at the exact same time, and he has 2 more popping right now. So the last couple of weeks especially have been, or a couple months really, because they can teeth for like months before they pop a tooth.
Yeah.
And so like that was a big thing. His hunger, he was starting to transition into actually like having real foods in the last 2 months. And I think just all of those things, they wake up, they have to fart.
You just have no clue what they need.
You really have no idea.
Yeah.
And
But
then
they're crying and you just need
even
to go to
fussing.
sleep.
Yeah. And you can hear them fussing. And then it's like, okay, like now I'm bringing him into our room because that's the only way that he'll sleep. He needs to be touching me. But then imagine like having your shoulder to your ear for 3 hours a night.
So you guys did do like the co-sleeping?
Oh yeah. With Blake, I never did. But this time it was the only way that we were going to get sleep. And I never have any judgment for any parents. As long as you are all happy and healthy, like do what is going to get you some sleep.
And there are safe ways to co-sleep.
And there are safe ways to co-sleep.
Yeah.
And like at first it was just him in the bassinet until they got a little bit older. Like when he started like rolling and he couldn't be in the bassinet, I really, really pushed for the crib. So like he would sleep 4 hours in the crib by himself.
Yeah.
But that was between like 6 p.m. and 10. Or like 6:30 and 10:30. And that is 4 hours, right? Yes. Like, wait, did I do what? So then after that, that's like when we're getting to sleep, we're going to sleep at like 9 o'clock. So then you're getting like an hour and a half of broken sleep because you know that he's going to wake up.
Yeah.
Then he wakes up, you give him the bottle and you just like pray that he goes back in his crib. So you try for at least an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at that point, you're just like, okay, Steve, you got to go to work tomorrow. Go to sleep. Like you at least get some rest that at 4 o'clock you can wake up. Like we just found like our routine. But then if Wyatt like wouldn't sleep in his crib, you get to the point where like, okay, no blankets, no pillowcase on my pillow. I have like the pillow all the way back here. He has nothing. There's enough room, or I kick Steve out to like another bed and I just like sleep comfortably, hair back in a pony, like make it so that there's no chance that they can be hurt.
Yeah.
And you're in like a half sleep because you don't want to roll and think, and like he's in the middle, right? And I've been really good at that. Like there was a time where Blake wanted to sleep on my chest all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what we would do. But it means that I'm getting a half sleep because I know that I want to protect her.
That's why I hate co-sleeping. I don't sleep.
And
I don't sleep either.
Yeah.
And I know so many people who co-sleep. And I tried not to judge, but I kept thinking, and I guess I wasn't judging. I was just thinking I would be so scared. And even I'm not somebody that moves around a lot in my sleep, but I would just be scared of that one time that something would happen. And this time I felt like it was the only way for any of us to sleep. And thank God that we got through it. And now he's a lot better. Like he self-soothes a lot. He actually likes to sleep on his stomach, which gives me a heart attack, but what are you gonna do?
He's old enough now.
Now, and I tell myself that too.
Oh, Elliot sleeps face down on his mattress.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Elliot does not. Elliot has slept on his stomach for a long time.
Wow. Okay. And I've heard like in the 90s, like that was something that they told you to do.
Yeah.
Well, ever since he could roll to his stomach, I never put him on his stomach.
No.
But if he rolled there, I'd let him sleep there because I would just be flipping him all night long. So
The Back to Sleep campaign came in, and it was like you always place your baby on your back, their back, until 12 months of age. Now, if they roll onto the front, it's as long as they can roll both ways safely. You can leave them. Okay, and that's fine. Yeah.
Because I mean, now he's on his back, but like Blake was always on her back. Like, girl did
Really?
She barely rolled too. Like. Really, it's like the first kid because like they don't have to keep up with the second kid.
Yeah.
But
Everything
she
gets handed to them. They're like, I'm here, pick me up.
my kids are insane sleepers. There's no, like, they are sleeping in the corner of the crib. Face, like,
now
head
Blake's
down.
wild.
That's been, like, from day one.
Blake's
Just
favorite thing is
wild.
too, she puts her whole body across the pillows. Like, she has a queen bed. She has our old bed. Because, like, we knew that when she sometimes goes, you know, she has the times where I don't want to say regress. I don't know what it's called when it's a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. But last year before we bought this house, she wanted to fall asleep in her bed and then we would carry her to her bed. She's doing the same thing now, almost an entire year later. So what we did when we got this house is we got a king size bed for us because we're like, you know what, we always want the option where if the kids need to sleep with us, they can. And then Blake got her queen bed so that if we need to go, instead of bringing her to our bed all the time, we can like just sleep in her bed for a few hours, get her to sleep, and then go. Because I was sleeping on her floor for a while.
Yeah.
Girl.
I would love your opinion on this because we just started. Should we start with infant?
Sure.
And go up to toddler? Because
absolutely.
I was like, I already wanted to jump in here. Like,
please do.
One of my recommendations is like, if you're switching out of the crib, for God's sake, get a big mattress.
We did that. We got a double bed. We just did it like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
we just bought it. We bought a double mattress.
We have a full size because you can climb in and you can do your story time in there. Yes. You can cuddle. Your kid's sick. You're gonna want to spend some time with them overnight in there.
And then it can be in their room and not yours.
Yeah,
which I really value.
Which is really important.
It is.
Yeah, and I'll get into that a little bit too. Yeah.
Now that I've divulged my life, I'll step back because now you can tell me where I'm wrong and where I'm right. Tell me a lot that I'm right.
But there's no wrong. It's really what you want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. If everything is like feels good to you and that's how you want your family to be, like go with it. Like don't feel like you need to change anything.
And that's a society that's like told us to like what's right and what's wrong. But letting go of that is one of the biggest things.
Yeah. I was thinking like on the way over here, it's like, my gosh, like 100 years ago, we would never go into our neighbor's place and be like, how'd your child sleep last night? You know what I mean? They would have been like, get your nose out of my business. You know? Yeah. Right? Seriously, but all of a sudden it's become this huge like newspaper topic of like, how are you putting your child to sleep?
But it's always the old ladies that ask me.
Is it?
Don't get me started on old ladies.
They need a nap.
My son slept through the night at 2 months old and he was eating steak pot roast for dinner. Like, fucking right, Linda.
Sure he was.
I don't believe the goddamn word you're saying. It worked. You just didn't have a baby monitor.
That's like one of the worst things, the baby monitor. It's like, they just put them in the room.
I think those seem so stressful. I had a mom friend of mine, and she had a baby monitor that attached to her phone, and I think it's pretty normal, pretty common for like a lot of moms to have this. It tracks their like heart rate, their breathing, and she would like look at it like the whole time that like their baby was sleeping. It's like a life support machine. And I was like, isn't that stressful?
I've got an Owlette and use it every night.
So I have the Owlette, but it's just the camera, and I've thought about getting the sock so many times, and I understand it for NICU babies, but the anxiety that's
what I think. Like, isn't it like anxiety filled just to watch your baby's breathing?
Both ways. It depends on you as a person.
Yeah.
So for me, it actually really helps. I don't check it unless it's going off.
Yeah.
Because also we were in the NICU, it was just for low blood sugar, it wasn't for oxygen. But I understand how often they false alarm. And I understand how not accurate they can be. Like the hospital system's false alarm actually more than the Owlette does. Oh, wow. Like, but yeah, it was false alarming constantly when we were in there both times. And so I'm not very concerned by it. I'm not watching the stats. But I know if his oxygen drops below 80%, which is so low, that's an emergency if it's alarming or it's wrong. It's not set to go off if it goes to 95%, which is like, I don't know, but I think probably a little lower than it should be. But it's not going to alarm unless it's really a problem.
I just think it's cool.
So I feel like I couldn't sleep until I started using it. And once we started using it, I could sleep. When she was asleep, slept like a dream.
I feel like it would have been the opposite.
I love like tracking stuff and that is a problem.
It
is a problem, right?
You obsess.
Yeah, I do, because I find it really, really interesting to see like what goes on and like but as a new mom, do you really need that information?
Yeah, I think it depends on how much you're going to look at that information.
And an experience with me, I remember like waking up and being so tired, but like, Warren, just go in and see her, because it sounds like the volume, I don't know if you ever, maybe it was just my monitor, it sounded so intense, like she was dying.
Really?
And then you go into the room and it was just like
her
squawks.
breathing,
little
just
squawks,
like her squawking. Sometimes it's a soothing squawk.
It's so true.
Them having a dream.
It's active sleep. I was waking Janie up in active sleep because I thought she was awake. Do you know how long I did that for? I'm like, she needs me. Your girl's sleep. Your child's sleep.
But it also feels like your organs are being ripped out of your body when your child cries. So especially when you're a new mom and you're going through all the postpartum stuff. Like, how do you sleep? You can't sleep through that. Like,
No.
Steve would call me the Undertaker, like the wrestling guy, because I could hear her like, ooh, and I'd be like up and I could hear it on the monitor very faintly, but I wouldn't even remember getting up. I would just go to her room and I would know what she needed. It was very instinctual. With Wyatt, I don't even put on the monitor. I don't have it on anymore. Now that he's past the 6-month mark, if he's crying loud enough for me to hear it, I'm up. Like I hear it very faint through the wall. We're actually sharing walls now. But now that they're old enough, like you'll hear it if he needs you.
Yeah.
I'm a light sleeper, so I was the same as well.
Isn't that like in our DNA as mothers? Like
but I'm a super light, and I'm a tosser and turner as well.
Yeah.
So I found it really, really hard because I tried to co-sleep with Taylor at first as well because I thought that was what you're sold, right? Yeah. To have them close. They've been inside you for 9 months. They need you close, you know? And like every squawk, she was a squawky, like movie twisty baby.
My babies had tracheomalacia, so it was like,
oh, what has that?
Gosh.
Really?
Yeah.
Impossible to sleep next to that thing. Sleep next to a baby that with tracheomalacia, and you ain't sleeping a wink.
Yeah.
Well, that's the sleep that I was getting.
Yeah, so I had to move both of them pretty early into their own room because I could not sleep with them in the room. Or actually, Andrew and I, this time, we learned to separate. So one person would sleep downstairs on the couch and they'd actually sleep. And then the other person would sleep next to the baby. And I would wake up constantly because I'm the mother, whereas he would wake up when Elliot needed him. So I slept on the couch a lot. Postpartum, actually, because I would actually sleep. And then he'd call me on the phone when he needed me.
Oh, wow.
This episode of Good Girls Have Anxiety brought to you in collaboration with Little Sleep Coach. Use promo code GoodGirlsHA at littlesleepcoach.com for 15% off better sleep for you and your babies. Thank God. Honestly, if I were a parent in the 90s and Steve and I were not 90s babies, but parents in the 90s, I'd be walkie-talkie that shit every day. Hey, do the buzzer, do the buzzer, get up.
Yeah. But going back to being sold on that dream of you need to be close to them. There's definitely this very polarizing two camps. Those little footsteps Andrew's going to be.
Hey, it makes it more authentic.
Exactly. We're mothers, don't you know?
We're somebody's mother.
There's those two polarizing camps now of co-sleeping. It's what we're made to do. Mothers are made to be close to your babies. And then that makes you feel extremely shamed and guilty if you choose to sleep train. And I feel like that's the root of a lot of my anxiety initially. Because when I had Janie, was I will never sleep train my child because attachment is so important and that's torturing a child. And Instagram sold me how unacceptable sleep training is, and you don't do that anymore.
There's so many reels about that.
It's
icky. In my mind, you don't do that anymore. You do not sleep train. So when Janie was a baby, we were in a wreck. She would not fall asleep. She was colic. She had reflux. We were bouncing her to sleep. So we couldn't rock her to sleep. That didn't work. We had to bounce her. We were sitting on a yoga ball and we had to bounce at the right rhythm and so hard enough her head was shaking. If her head was bouncing, she'd fall asleep. Had to be pitch black, white noise, head bouncing. So there was no nap in the car seat. There was no nap in the stroller. There was no nap on the go. We weren't napping at anybody else's house. Wow. We had to be every nap with that fucking yoga ball bouncing until my fucking baby's head shake. And I was livid. Yeah. And I would do this bouncing, my back, and I have big babies. Janie was almost 10 pounds when she was born. So you're 3 months in and you have almost 20-pound baby that you're bouncing for the 7th hour that day. Yeah, you've had a C-section. So your 33-hour labor. It just was atrocious. So my body hurt so bad. I was so sleep deprived. I was in so much pain. And then you bounce for half an hour with this baby that you're I just need to put you down. I just need you to fall asleep. They finally fall asleep. You finally lay them down. And those fucking eyes pop open. And I swear to God. And that's when I was I can't do it. I cannot do it for one more day. And my mom's friend said, that's okay. She's going to turn 6 months old and you're going to sleep train her. And I was Michelle, I'm going to call Michelle right out because we talked about
Over my dead body.
Michelle, we don't do that anymore. I will never sleep train my child. That is in my head, I'm that's disgusting. Yeah. That, I love my child. I would never do that.
How could you ignore the cries of your child?
I made it to 4 months. I did sleep training at 4 months because I cracked. I could not do it for another night. Yeah. And I had thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And then I hit that point that I was like, I literally cannot do this one more time.
I feel like we've totally forgotten about the baby and mother relationship. We have so focused on the baby and what's right for the baby and what the baby needs.
And it makes you feel selfish when you make a decision for you.
When I moved my child to a crib, I felt so guilty. I felt like such a bad mom. Like, look, you're just pushing her away. Like, this is the little narrative that's going off in your head, right?
Absolutely.
You know, and there's so much shame to that too. And I was just like, I can't sleep with her in the room anymore. Like, I can't get good sleep. And my husband was traveling too. So I call myself like a solo parent, not a single parent. Like, I have a husband, but he works. He can work Monday and leave Monday morning, come back Friday evening, or he may be gone for 10 days or 12.
Hard.
And a lot of times it's like 2 or 3 nights, you know?
Yeah.
But it was actually a lot longer in the beginning because he just started a new job. So they needed him for training and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it was so hard. And I remember, I'll never forget, putting Taylor down for Taylor's my eldest. She's 7 now. But putting her down for, I want to say 6, maybe 7 or 8 naps. She was 4 months old. They were all 30-minute naps.
Oh, God.
And then 6 o'clock hit and I looked at the clock. I'm like, oh my God, I have all night by myself to do this too. That was the moment of
I absolutely get that.
You just break into tears, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're like defeated.
That made me feel anxious just hearing you talk about that.
And the thought of the next nap or the next time you have to put them to bed, I'm like, I can't do it. Mm-hmm. Please don't be nap time already. Like, I cannot do this again. I physically can't put you to bed again. Yeah. And you can't. And then social media is telling you that's your only option. Yeah. There's nothing else. You're a bad mom if you choose to do anything other than that. But I literally could not do it. Mm-hmm. That's not sustainable. No. And it's not going to change unless you do something, quite honestly. Like, I'm not saying you need to put them in their crib and say, adios, figure it out, 3-month-old baby. Like, that's not what we're saying. But you also can't expect things are going to change if you do the same thing forever. Yeah. And so, personally, I'm super excited to get your input on this. I'll tell you what I did. It wasn't necessarily right, but it goes to show every kid is different. Yeah.
Every situation is different. Every family is different. So there's a lot of components here.
Absolutely. I had posted on my personal Instagram and I was like, how the fuck did anybody get their kids to sleep? Because we're in my head, we're not sleep training. This is
verbatim. She said, how the fuck on Instagram?
Probably, yeah. Like, how... It's like, what are you doing? Because we're not sleep training anymore. So what are people doing? Everybody responded. I have never had more responses to something in my life, and they all said sleep training. So I'm like, so that's we are so doing confusing. This? Yeah. Like, so we are actually doing this. Nobody's just talking about it.
I don't know where you heard that because I heard everybody was sleep training, but it was like I didn't need to. Yeah. And then this time I was honestly about to, and then I literally had one conversation with you. I was like, what do I do? And you're like, focus on that first nap, and my life was changed forever. Like, I don't know. Everything just got better. Yeah. Like,
no way.
Absolutely. And like, I've watched, like, I love reality TV because it shows like real life. And like in those moments, like I always connect most with the parents, the new parents, the parents who are like teen moms. And then now they're parents of like,
because we are teen moms.
Because obviously I'm a teen. I got pregnant at 18 and now I don't even know how old I am anymore. Do I lie? How bad do I lie? But it was like, you know, like you're kind of seeing a version of things, but you're also seeing like the real moments. And honestly, Teen Mom really taught me a lot. And also not to get pregnant as a teen. Yeah. But, you know, and I always thought sleep training is what you had to do. Not necessarily the Gerber method or
Ferber, which is what I did.
Cry it out.
And I'm a Ferber girl.
And I
Ferber girly.
But they made it sound so harsh. Yeah. That like, just let them cry for hours. If they don't cry, they're not doing it right. Like, what?
And this is where I think every child is different comes in. Yeah. Because I tried not Ferber first. And I tried the whole, like, the chair method or if I was anywhere present near Janie, she lost her shit. And every time I did a check-in, it escalated it every single time. So I ended up having to do straight up extinction, which I don't necessarily love sharing. So here I am sharing it on podcast.
Well, there's no judgment here.
Because
there's no judgment.
It was the only option that worked for her. And it really worked. But then I got very set with her that like that's the only way she falls asleep. So then we had no other ways to help her fall asleep, which looking back at it now and going into toddlerhood caused some issues because then I couldn't help soothe her to sleep ever. Whereas with Elliot, I've tried to like take that approach being like, okay, maybe some variety is nice. You know, like maybe we have some tools to help him fall asleep in different ways. One being that, yes, I would love it if he could self-soothe, and his temperament is different, so I could do that. He's just an easier, chiller baby. So he is more flexible. And Janie was very rigid. And you know what? That is just more Janie's personality. She's like that strong, smart, stubborn go-getter. She's going to go many places in life. Yeah. But sleep.
We're raising CEOs here. We ain't raising no employees. Like, you know who's the employee? Me.
To her.
Yeah, exactly.
But like temperament plays such a big part in it. And I just totally underestimated that beforehand. And I wish there wasn't this, like, I love how you on social media don't show up and say, like, you have to do this, this, and this. And if you do this or this, you're a bad mom.
If you don't do this, you're a bad mom. And this is the right way to do it. Yeah, you can't, like, you just can't do that. And I think I've been, 7 years as a sleep consultant. I'll be straight up. Yeah, I know. I'm old.
So Taylor's whole life.
Pardon?
Taylor, sorry, can I say that?
Yeah.
Her whole life.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, that's really cool, because you were like in the trenches going through it.
Yeah, I was like 4 months. I'm digging into the sleep. Yeah. Like, doesn't everybody? What is sleep training?
Because you're a data girl.
Yeah, I am. So I want to find the data and the research, and then that's why I was like, you know what? There are more moms out there, and because I was well in the mom community around me as well, it's like I am not the only person.
You're basically Sting.
Just not making his money.
After this podcast.
But I was in the trenches, and like, because I was a solo mom too, it all came down to me. The buck stopped with me. And what kind of really changed in the last 7 years was when I first became a mom, I thought that I was molding a leader of the world. Yeah. Like, that's what you think you're doing. You think you're molding somebody. You're not.
Raising CEOs. She just said it.
You're along for the ride.
We're raising employees.
We're just along for the ride. We're shepherds. We're just like, and it's that point of like, oh my God, you gotta let that go, Liz.
Yeah,
you gotta let that go. Yeah. You're not molding anybody.
Yeah, it's true.
You're not.
They are who they are.
Yeah.
It's your job to help guide them to be the best version of them and a kind, loving, hardworking version of them.
And how do you do that? When you, as a mother, get sleep.
Yes.
Exactly. And some of the hardest parents I like talking to, and I, no judgment, but like, are parents with one child, because that's all the window they've seen is their child's temperament and personality and how they've reacted. And they think all children are the same. And it's not till you have a second, you're just like, oh, well, that just blew up in my face. Yeah.
That is so true.
Right?
That is so, because that was me after my first, 100%.
Yeah, and I was almost like a little critical. I was like, oh, my daughter, sleeping 12 hours a night.
Yeah.
She was your only one. She wasn't woken up by another child being like, oh, you're awake, shake, shake, shake. Like, but that's like the big, like, they could fall asleep wherever they want because they're the only one.
Yeah.
Well, I got Janie sleeping through the night through sleep training.
Yeah.
To me. And so when other people's kids don't sleep, I'm like, well, you haven't done it right. You didn't do a good enough job. I don't know what to say.
And there's so much coming into it, right? And and my second came along, I'm like, oh, this is very different. You're happy. You're not colicky. You're not crying for 3 hours before you go to sleep. Like, you don't have spit up. Like, and you nap for 2 hours a day, whereas Taylor was just like 30 minutes. But she'd sleep 12 or 13 hours.
We have very similar kids.
Yeah.
But have we talked about that on the podcast, or was that before we started recording?
No, that was before.
Can we go into that a little bit? Can you try to have that conversation?
Sure, yeah. We were talking about how, if you want to start with Taylor's temperament.
We could start with a birth.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do a full episode, actually.
Are we going to do that
stories.
now?
I think we should do a full episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll have Liz back for that, because I very much want to hear yours.
Traumatic births.
Yeah, not good labors. No. Deliveries with her first. Not what we expected. Yeah. Went completely the opposite. We were thrown into motherhood already upside down. On our tits down, ass up.
And then, like,
sorry if anybody repeated the next line of that song, because I definitely did.
What I was meaning.
Well, back to...
And then, let's touch on how Taylor came out. She was fiery.
She was just very well. She had acid reflux. That was the first thing that we kind of struggled with, you know. And we were constantly trying to figure out what that was. And like, it was so bad that she would wake up in the morning and she would have like, from her drool, she'd have like blisters down the side of her cheek to her ear. Like little, and so she had this constant rash down
that's
here.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, and it would be down behind. Like it was hard.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, and then she had colic. So like for any mother that has a child that goes through colic, it will almost drive you to the point of insanity.
Yeah,
because there is nothing you can do to stop your child from crying.
And Janie would cry for 6 hours straight.
Yeah,
no nap in there. Just 6 hours straight, and there's nothing. And you're doing everything in the world to try to get them to calm down or go to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, the bad sleep habit started.
Yeah.
Because it was like, what can I do to make you comfortable at all?
Yeah.
And then that was the only way to
describe what colic is? Because I've seen like it's very like wide range. It's just like a baby that like doesn't stop crying is what I've seen some places. Because I don't know if Wyatt had that, but we were having that same trouble where he would just cry for hours on end to the point where I was about to take him to Emerge, and I called Laura's mom, and she was like, well, I happened to be texting Laura, and I was like, I'm going to take Wyatt to Emerge. Like, he won't stop crying, and I don't know what to do. And she called me. She's like, don't take him to Emerge. He'll get something even worse. He's probably, from all that crying, he probably has something swollen in his back now, because now he's crying for multiple reasons. Mm-hmm. Just give him some Advil. Gave him the Advil, and he was fine. But then, like, there were also days where I'm like, I breastfed Blake, and then now that's very instinctual when you're nursing. But then when you're doing formula, this was a whole different ballgame for me. And he only nursed for 4 months, and it was awful. Like, it was the hardest thing that I've ever done, is to fight with a baby awful, right?
Yeah.
I've done it with both.
And it broke my heart that I had to stop doing that, but it was the only thing that I could. It was bad for both of us. Like, that was the other thing where, like, that's the moment where, like, I wasn't sleeping either because I knew he wasn't eating enough. Anyways, so then it just seemed like, I don't know, I was thinking he maybe had colic or what it was, like, but I didn't know what exactly it was. Does colic stop at a certain time?
So there's it's almost like it happens between 6 and 8 weeks, although I saw it like a little bit before the 6-week mark.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like an increase of crying. Now, this can happen as well as which hour, which can be like that hour before bedtime where it's just like full meltdown crying and it's almost impossible to settle a child. A lot of that can be caused by overtiredness, and it's just that like meltdown, and then they are so off the grid that it's really hard to get them back to relax to fall asleep. Colic is different. It's like 2-3 hours of consistent crying. I can't remember like if it's in a day or over a week. It's classed as
I think it's classed as a certain amount of time is in a week.
It was like 3 to 4 days out of the week when they cried for 2 to 3 hours straight.
Yeah.
And that's what we were experiencing. But I was like, there's no way that this is it. Like, how do you help this? Like,
I had it 7 days a week.
Oh my God. Like,
mine was every day as well with Janie.
Like, I'm just thinking of it. Like, you get emotional because you're like, I remember that time. Like, it was awful. And I put it out of my mind. And it was just like, I would sit there and I'd cry and I'd rock him and I'd tap and I'd do all the things. And like, you know, I felt like I had nothing instinctual to do because he wouldn't nurse anymore. Like, it was just
and then you start this disconnect,
and you start to disconnect, and like you just like feel yourself like about to like lose it. To do that 7 days a week, like
and to a point, I started therapy a year ago, and I said like I find Taylor's crying so triggering, and then I explained the situation. She's like, yeah, it's PTSD. You feel like you'll never stop her from crying when she starts crying.
Wow.
I'm like, oh.
I definitely feel that way.
I gotta work on that.
I never thought about the fact that like that cry could then be triggering after.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought about that.
And I don't have it with Declan, but with Taylor, when Taylor starts crying, like I just like that.
Your blood boils.
Everything, like it's almost it's not
Sorry,
an anger.
not boil, like not an anger
but the
boil.
reaction.
It's like a trauma response. To that.
exactly.
The urgency of it. It's like I gotta stop this. I gotta.
Yeah.
How do I help you?
All triggers.
And I
from that.
feel like there's this disconnect that forms, at least in my experience, when you feel like you and your baby aren't on the same team.
Yeah.
And for me, that started at birth. It just with like a traumatic birth experience. Again, we'll get into that. And then postpartum, you're struggling, you're exhausted, your baby's exhausted, and you you're the mom. You're supposed to know.
And you're processing everything that happened at birth for the first, I don't care, 1 to 2, 3 months.
Yeah.
I know, I'm 7 years later. I'm still processing.
Yeah.
Right?
But you're like, have this vision of what being a mother is like. And then here's your baby. And from everything you see, you're supposed to know what your baby needs.
Yeah.
Because that's your job. Instinctually, if you're a good mother, you know what your baby needs. Whether it's sleep, whether it's feed, their cries are different. You should know their different cries. And then you have a colicky baby that you can't figure out what they need. Yeah. Then you feel like you're failing at being their mother. Yeah. And then this creates this like me against you, not us figuring out together. Yeah. And that, I will say, is the root, in my opinion, of attachment issues, not sleep.
Yeah,
sleep is so negligible and such a small piece of like, okay, I let you fuss a little to try to give you the opportunity to get comfortable on your own without stepping in, giving you the space to figure it out, because I know that you're fed. I know that you're changed. I know that your temperature is good. I've done my due diligence. Like, I've done everything I can do. I'm going to give you the space to try to figure this out a little, because with time they do. Yeah. They truly do. And then
I find that they crave it. Like with Wyatt, like for the longest time, like I felt like he needed to be in the bed, and then it was like his choice where he's like, okay, now you're in my space. I want my space. Yeah. And I felt that with Blake too, which is this whole thing where like, okay, she wants to fall asleep in her bed, then go to her bed. Now that I'm like, okay, fine, you can stay in our bed until you fall asleep, I find that she's more open to going back to her bed. Like it's the control too, I think.
That's interesting actually. Like the minute Zion started sleeping in his own bed, we would like still kind of like try to like rock him a little bit, like just to settle him down. And then he would like try to get out of our arms after like a week of that. And he'd be like, I don't even need you anymore. Like, I just want to lay here.
But he needed to know that you would, like, you know what I mean? Like almost like a security.
I always thought that was just kind of a weird thing he did, but I guess it's
no, yeah.
And it's smart, dude.
Yeah,
like,
I just feel like with sleep training, the bad rap it gets is on attachment. Yeah. The whole reason that they say you shouldn't sleep train is on attachment. But we're not even thinking about
crazy.
Because the attachment, how can you attach and be an being attending to their needs throughout the day when you are at the bottom? You have nothing left to give. How can you be an attentive parent all day and connect with your baby when you're in that position? You can't. So I feel like the attachment issues can stem from not having sleep. Absolutely. So this whole talk on like that attachment and sleep training, I just like, what's your opinion on that? And how do you help talk parents through that piece?
There has been like research on this.
Okay.
Yeah. And the research has said there is absolutely no difference between a parent and a child's relationship with parents who've sleep trained and parents who haven't sleep trained.
Crazy.
So that is debunked. It's one study. Yeah. Okay. And I know like as humans, we like to see multiple. Well, there's over 75 studies on sleep training alone, which is the cry it out method, the harshest method, or the most formal training method. Yeah. And there has been not one single negative effect from it.
Crazy.
But we don't focus on that.
Yeah. Because I know that we probably read the same thing. Yeah. But like I was reading, I think a couple times that the Ferber method was like part of our anxiety issues. Like we were all experiencing PTSD because we had the cry out. Yeah.
Well,
we're sorry, but we're experiencing it because we're getting judged by everybody else.
Yeah.
Take that away. Were your parents feeling anxiety because they didn't have a monitor and put you in your room?
No. They slept great. Right? Yeah, as they have told me, and I just think they're liars.
I think they forget it all.
I do too.
They forget it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no, I was honestly just gonna say there's so many, like, I'm not a parent, so I'm scrolling on Instagram and I see like these things and I don't really relate to them yet. But you see these things and it's like, oh, your baby doesn't even know that they're not attached to you until they're like 9 months old. So that's why they should sleep with you. Like they only know you, they only know your scent, they only know this and that. And I just remember thinking like, that just seems like so stressful to me. Like that you don't feel like you can be away from your baby for even a second because they don't know that they're not attached to you.
Pressure.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that sounds awful. And so when you say like we only focus on like the not the cried out method, the not Ferber method, it's because like people feel like parents feel guilty that they're putting their baby down for even like a second, I think.
but it also feels like your body's falling out of you.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel
Literally.
natural. Literally. So I remember, like, I think my in-laws were trying to like do me a favor, and they're like, go on a walk with the dog. Blake would have been maybe a week old. They're like, go on a walk with the dog. Just get out of the house. And I tried. I was healed over. I was like, it literally felt like blood was gushing from my body and my stomach was turning. And it maybe felt like, you know, the placenta coming out of me again. Like it felt awful. And I, like, Steve was luckily with me, and I'm like, I need you to get me home. Like, I feel like I'm going to pass out. Like, I need you to help me. And I will never forget that feeling, because with Blake, it was the hardest to go through life without her near me for at least the first year. With Wyatt, it's a lot easier. I don't know what it is.
I didn't feel that at all.
Oh, I felt that.
I was like, get this baby away from me,
Really?
quite honestly. And that's where attachment issues came in. Because I was like, I can't stand this baby right now with the crying.
Yeah.
Like,
And
will
that's
somebody
postpartum.
just take her for a second? Because I just need some space. Like, I need to sleep right now.
Oh, I had like such high anxiety. Like, don't hold my baby.
Really?
Yeah, like crazy. Yeah.
My mother-in-law, God bless her soul, would come, and it saved me. She would sleep downstairs with Janie in the bassinet and then bring Janie to me when Janie needed to
gosh.
eat. So that way, and she'd come stay at my house for like a week and a half, because we lived in BC at the time. She'd come and my sister-in-law would do this too, and my mom. So they would come and stay with me and sleep in the same room as the baby, so I could actually sleep, because I couldn't sleep when I was beside her.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but getting back to you, Liz. Here are the things we keep getting distracted. I really want your opinion on co-sleeping. I really want your opinion on like some general first steps that you recommend taking. Obviously, it's so complex, but like maybe options that there are other than Ferber, if people are scared of that.
Yeah.
But like, what are some other options?
So when I'm chatting with mom, I try to find out a lot about the child's temperament too. And you can really get a good idea of like, right away, I'm like, okay, like this, I can do a supportive method here. Like, I think we're going to see progress. That'll be good. And I also have to make sure that mom can handle it, because it does take holding boundaries around it.
Yeah.
You know, can you be in the room and listen to your child cry?
And that would be like the chair method?
Yeah, I call it a supportive method.
Okay.
But I also alter these. So a lot of times I may have a co-sleeping breastfeeding mom. That is a very kind of interesting mix up to kind of get in there, because you want to keep the breastfeeding going. Yeah. Right. But mom's ready to move baby into their own room. So I might do something where we put the mattress in the room next to the crib.
Oh, okay.
And then we do a gentle transfer from there, moving mom out of the room.
Can you explain the chair method? Did I miss that?
Yeah. So the chair method is where you put baby in the crib, you say goodnight, they're awake, and you have a chair right beside the crib. And so you're offering support. What that means is like you're talking to them, you might be jiggling the mattress, patting, whatever they like to fall asleep. A lot of times they'll escalate, especially in the first 1 to 3 nights. Yeah. Be like, this is not how it's done.
Pick me up, goddammit.
Do the thing that I'm used to you doing. You know, so there's a lot of that. So really what you're trying to do is build their confidence in the crib with you there. So you're not kind of like dropping and leaving them and they feel isolated. I don't know if they're emotions are complex enough to understand that, but we think they are, right?
That was my thought, that I'm like, they don't really know, they can barely
right?
see.
Yeah, exactly. But as moms, we like to put all this emotion on them, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times when I'm
They're
doing the method,
geniuses. Yeah. I know it all. They know exactly what we're doing. They're like, I know your tricks, lady. Give me that
bleeding. He's a year old. Like, I know it all. But it's like we do that. So a lot of these methods I'm doing for mom and baby.
Yeah.
Because mom's not ready, you know?
So valid.
Right? Mom's not ready. So let's take little steps. Like, what is a comfortable step for you? And then I design something around that. Okay, that's a comfortable step. What can your baby do is the next thing? Because you're not in control of that. You think you're in control of that? You're not in control of that. Yeah. Like, is she going to get so damn mad that you're looking at her in the crib and you're not picking her up? Yeah. Because we do have little babies that'll be like, get up and scream in mom's face for like 45 minutes. I don't know if any mom
That's
could.
my experience.
Yeah, I don't know of any mom that could go through that. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, we're all just crying at that point.
Yeah. And it's like,
if dad's not crying, I'm going to kick him. We're all in this together.
And at that point, I'm like, hey, we need to switch methods. This is not good for you and that's not good for her. And this is going to keep going forever. So let's switch up to something else.
So thank you for listening to part 1 of Good Girls Have Anxiety, the podcast with Little Sleep Coach Liz. If you have a story you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at goodgirlshaveanxiety@gmail.com. That's it for this episode of Good Girls Have Anxiety. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and review. If your brain's still spiraling, honestly, same. Follow us on Instagram, Good Girls Have Anxiety. Email us, goodgirlshaveanxiety@gmail.com, and send it to a friend. We appreciate every single share, download, and engagement. Now take a breath, unclench your jaw. You're doing great. And remember, being anxious doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. Okay, love you. Bye.